thank you very much for the raid. Much appreciated. Really, really do appreciate that. Hey, you beautiful buccaneers, Falcore here. So the ancients, much like ancient civilizations from our own culture, had a lot in common. They were very superstitious, but also spent a lot of time looking at the largest HD screen of them all, the night sky. The ancients were a very superstitious bunch. They spent most of their days sampling the land's plant life and testing out its, medicinal properties. Very similar to the ancients in our own reality. I mean, everyone's got to try the Kool-Aid at some point, am I right? But one thing that the ancients found fascinating, and something that every human being finds fascinating, is the stars. You see, for a lot of us, the stars have lost their magical properties, mostly due to light pollution. As a culture, most of us live in dense, very well-lit areas. And because of this, the fake emissions from light sources at nighttime almost creates a shroud of sorts that blankets over what the night sky actually looks like. It's in effect similar to walking from a bright room and then walking into a dimly lit room. For a few moments, that dimly lit room is pitch black, but as our eyes adjust, we start to see things more clearly. However, light pollution is a constant shroud of blinding light that never lets us see the actual night sky. So for the majority of the planet, the night sky looks like this. But for those of us lucky enough not to live in areas of dense light pollution, and more to the point, the people from our own ancient cultures would have seen the night sky like this. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm telling you all this. You see, if we all saw something as amazing as this in the night sky every single night, as a culture, we probably spend more time musing about the night sky and discussing our place within the universe. Except over the millions of years we have been around, we have accumulated a lot of knowledge about how things work. So although the stars are still a great source of inspiration, they're no longer as magical as they once were. To ancient cultures, much like the ancients within Sea of Thieves, the stars would have been a canvas of knowledge. People would have sat around waiting for the night sky to come around. It would have essentially been a form of entertainment, the largest and most high-fidelity TV screen nature has to offer. But for ancient cultures, anything that would happen or change in that night sky would have been a source of endless discussion. Clans worldwide would have known about its happening, stories would have been told, religious factions would have elaborated upon it, and it would have become something mystical, even supernatural, but not scientific. Science was not the backbone of their cultures. Therefore, if a star appeared in the night sky that wasn't there before, it would have been an omen, a blessing, or a new god, when in reality, it was possibly a supernova, a dying star thousands of light years away, or an orbiting asteroid that was being lit by the light of the sun. In Sea of Thieves, the ancients spent a lot of time mapping out the stars, and naming them after certain beasts that they had encountered within the lands. What is interesting is that although the Sea of Thieves is on Earth, the night sky within these lands is very different. Ramsey, the pirate lord, makes note of this when he first came here. We don't actually know why, and I have many theories, but that is for another video. But much like our own history, the ancients within the Sea of Thieves saw these stars as effigies of the gods. The Old Mother, the Wise Bear, the Angry Boar, and would use these gods as beacons to take them to the lands around the Sea of Thieves. This is why islands in the Sea of Thieves often have cave paintings signifying these gods. The Eagle God, Plunder Valley, the Boar God, Devil's Ridge, the Serpent, Snake Island, and the One-Eyed Shark, Sharkbait Cove. They would make offerings at these places in the hopes to appease the gods that resided within the heavens. And sometimes they would answer. Now, we know that the wilds was once struck with several meteor impacts that devastated the lands, and to people like us, the ones playing the game, we know that it's basically space dust that made its way through our atmosphere and hit the planet's surface. It would be fantastical to see, and happens more often than you'd think, even in present day. Imagine being from a culture that every single night looks up at the night sky and considers these constellations as gods. With the same canvas every evening, nothing ever changes, but then something like this happens. There would be no science to back up the theories, only the ramblings of a shaman or other religious folk. This wouldn't be a mere space rock, this would be a falling god, or a messenger. And if this meteor appeared to fall from one of the constellations of the gods, it would be a sign from the god, a gift from the god, or a beacon to travel to a certain area. And if this meteor actually made contact with the surface, whatever was found there would be a religious artifact, a gift, something to worship and something to write about. Now, in the real, boring world that we live in, this hunk of space rock would have simply been that. A hunk of space rock. Scientists from around the world would go maximum geek mode on it. This rock is comprised of amino acids and silicon, and dates back to even before the existence of our own sun. Sure, that's very interesting, but in Sea of Thieves, with its land of legends, these meteors actually held otherworldly powers. How do I know this? Well, armed with the knowledge of what I've just been talking about, in the tall tale Stars from a Thief, Suds sends us on an adventure across the stars, mapping the journey of his ex-captain Briggsy. She had gathered many scribblings and data from the ancients, and the story sends you on an adventure to reclaim some mystical stones. In these stories, the ancients tell fables of their gods, and how they flew to the earth and guided them. All the stones in this tall tale hold magical properties and lead you to the most powerful stone of all, a red shard known as the Shroud Breaker Stone, that has the power to part the shroud. Now, normally I would speculate that these stones could have possibly been the remains of fallen asteroids, but in this case I am 100% positive that the Shroudbreaker stones are actually the remnants of meteors that in our own culture probably hold some sort of scientific basis for their powers, such as a polarizing magnetic force. But to the ancient people and possibly even our own pirates, without any advanced scientific knowledge, to us they hold magical properties. And if the shroud is in fact the remaining dust storm left over from this devastating meteor disaster, it would make sense that a mineral that was present within these asteroids would have a polarizing effect on its own lingering material. I'm growing more and more positive that the legends within the Sea of Thieves didn't form from the lands themselves, but rather from the stars. As Ramsey said, the stars in the Sea of Thieves are different to the world outside of it. Are we still on Earth when within the Sea of Thieves? Did we cross into another world, another dimension, or maybe a spiritual land? One thing is for sure, however. Hit Reg is still broken.